Parry is a core mechanic in Street Fighter 6. It's extremely powerful when mastered and a huge part of high level play. I'm going to cover the different types of parry and how they're used, then I'll talk about how you can use option selects to improve your parry game. Finally, I'll cover how to practice perfect parry. Parry is performed by pressing both medium buttons at the same time. However, I strongly recommend binding parry to a single button. Parry in Street Fighter 6 works less like a traditional parry in a game like Third Strike and more like a block button. It's a four-way block. You don't need to worry about high-low mix-ups or cross-ups. While parrying, your drive gauge slowly drains. However, successfully parrying attacks will refill your drive gauge. On its own, parry has a long recovery. When you parry an attack you're forced into block stun, you can cancel parry after block stun with no extra recovery. You generally don't want to hold parry as it opens you up for a punish counter throw. The most common way to parry is to tap parry. This minimises recovery. You can also use a drive rush option select to reduce risk, which I'll cover later. If you press parry 2 frames or less before you're hit with an attack, you'll get a perfect parry assuming you're holding the right direction. You need to hold down back for a low or back for everything else. If you perfect parry successfully, the screen will freeze, allowing for an easy punish. A perfect parry gives you 5 frames of invincibility, however the actual punish window depends on the move you've parried. Your perfect parry combo will start at 50% scaling, so will do very low damage. Because of this, it's generally not a good idea to cash out after a perfect parry unless it will kill. Tap parry is a useful defensive tool for interrupting pressure and taking your turn. If you tap parry but your opponent doesn't do a move, you'll be vulnerable to a punish counter throw. You can make it even safer using the drive rush option select. Input a drive rush slightly after your tap parry input. If you get a perfect parry, the drive rush won't come out because of the screen freeze. If you get a regular parry, the drive rush also won't come out because you'll be stuck in block stun. However, if the opponent doesn't do a move, you'll get the drive rush. This means if the opponent throws, it will only be a regular throw and not a punish counter. This is a great way to minimize risk and there's almost no reason not to do it. It does cost a bar of drive, but you'd lose that from the punish counter throw anyway. Perfect parrying a fireball works slightly differently. There's no screen freeze, so it's harder to follow up. Perfect parrying fireballs can be used to approach your opponent unhindered. Although there is no screen freeze, you can mitigate this using an option select. When attempting to perfect parry a fireball, input whatever you'd do if you were successful. If you get the perfect parry, your action will come out. But if you didn't get the perfect parry, you'll be stuck in block stun, so nothing will happen. Up close, you can usually just press a button to get a punish. At medium ranges, you can buffer a drive rush, allowing you to close the gap quickly. Learning to perfect parry comes with time, but there are a lot of situations which have specific timing and can be practiced. I'm going to give some examples of situations with a consistent perfect parry timing. I recommend practicing these. The more you learn to perfect parry, the more familiar you'll get with the timing. When practicing, note that if you get a regular parry, you were too early, and if you get no parry at all, you were too late. Parrying a meaty button on wake up is a consistent timing. Note this only works against true meaties and won't work against delayed buttons. Record the dummy throwing you and then doing a meaty. Practice until you can perfect parry the meaty consistently. There are a lot of moves in Street Fighter 6 which are weak to perfect parry. Moves like Honda's headbutt or Bison's stand heavy punch become way easier to deal with when you learn to perfect parry them. Record the dummy doing a neutral jump and then one of these moves. Practice until you can perfect parry the move consistently. After a while, you may wish to throw in some other options and try to react and only perfect parry when you see the startup of the move. Perfect parrying fireballs is also a fairly consistent timing. Note that different strengths of fireballs have different speeds, and so different timings to perfect parry. When practicing, start with just one strength of fireball. As you get consistent, throw in more strengths of fireballs to make it harder. Note that perfect parrying fireballs is significantly harder if the opponent is varying their speed. Parry is a very powerful mechanic in Street Fighter 6. It's definitely worth putting in the time to understand and master it. At times, perfect parry can feel like a cheat code. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.